Who knows what Oracle is? You can't answer. Any offer? Yes.
It's a database.
Wrong. It's a company. No. No, it is a database. It is the ugliest, largest behemoth database that exists outside of some others that no one's ever heard of that people use, like Google. All right, so during the summer I worked for LDS Church. I was basically put on a task force that worked in the business intelligence, what they call a portfolio, and my team was responsible for coming up with all the platforms, kind of the starting points for all the different projects as far as the database was concerned. So basically what we did is we took, when a new version of the database, like 11G or 11.12, all the different versions of the databases that Oracle comes out with, what they said is they have a new version of Oracle out. You need to come up with the church's starting point configuration for the database so that that database can be then used by whatever portfolio or project or whatever needs a database. So I was put on that team and had no idea what I was doing. Has anybody seen what Oracle looks like?
No.
No. That's what it looks like. I'm a visual person, right? So the first day I sat down, they're like, okay, you need to get this started up. They gave me a whole bunch of steps, and they're like, okay, that is your entire interface. If you're working with Oracle, I can count about 6 or 7 points where if you're doing configuration stuff like I was, that you'll actually be using a GUI. If you're like me and get really bored with that, then you can do something like this. But basically, it's pretty much what you're going to be working with. So basically, I started this with no knowledge. The church was really good about training me. I was put on a team of the church's experts on Oracle. These guys have been working on, one guy had been working with Oracle systems for 35 years. Like, he had grown up with Oracle. He'd done everything Oracle, and he loved it. So basically, what they started me with, they had me basically go through and start from the ground up. They had me do a lot of Linux conversions. Has anybody had any experience with Linux? Anybody? Anybody know what Linux is? Or if you don't have any experience with Linux, let me add my voice to Dr. Albrecht and your other professors. Go get VirtualBox from Oracle, download a version of Linux, whatever you want, and go mess around with it, because I promise you that it's very valuable for you to have at least a starting knowledge about what Linux really is all about. Alright, so these are some of the projects I worked on. Once I started getting a handle of all how to work with Oracle, how to set things up, how to kind of get around a database and get familiar with the infrastructure that was available at the church, they had a project where they wanted to increase the network security between the Oracle database servers and the application servers. So your servers that are running client-server applications, websites, kind of the back-end stuff. They wanted to make sure that the connections between sensitive data is actually encrypted between the servers, not just on outside traffic, but on inside traffic. And I was at the meeting, and it was kind of scary because, I'm the intern, I don't know anything. I'm semi-new to Linux, totally new to Oracle. And they said, well, does anybody have time to do this project? And nobody raised their hand, and I was just kind of taking notes and kind of trying to stay in the back and stay out of the way. And my supervisor, who's a really great guy, turned to me and he said, "You want to do it?" And I said, "Sure." So I started from square one, didn't know anything. And that's one thing that I found really useful and really cool about the church, is because at that internship, and I don't know how, that's my only experience, they were able to start me at square one. They knew I didn't know anything, and they gave me 2 servers to mess with enough time and resources where I could go out and basically figure this out on my own. So they gave me a sandbox environment, and I was able to come up with the church's very first configuration of a secure communication Oracle database server in the entire history of the church. So it was really cool. Does anybody, what are some ideas about what concerns would come out with putting encryption in between 2 servers? Any ideas? Specifically between a database server. Speed, latency, exactly. When you're establishing this connection, we actually ended up using SSL. SSL takes a little while to set up the encryption keys in order to make that transmission of data actually secure. That takes resources and time. Any other concerns or ideas, things that might pop up? Certificates. Certificates is a big one. All this is handled with certificates. You got to be able to configure all of the different application servers to be able to connect with an Oracle security wallet thingy. I can't remember the actual name of it. To be able to use the correct certificate to correctly connect with the right database. So that was the coolest project I worked on. I worked on it for about half the summer, and it was great because I got to do a proposal from beginning to end, develop all of it, and present it, and eventually it was decided that they weren't going to do it. So it was a lesson learned in diligence. Next thing that I got to work on, I did a lot of Oracle database installations, applications that you guys are familiar with, like all the database that's behind all of the notes that you can take on the scripture apps. I was on the team that we built that database, and I set up the first node of it. There's like 20 databases that actually run it. But and then the next part, big project that I worked on was database configuration automation. So basically at the church, they wanted it so that some group or some organization within the ICS, the church's computer entity, anybody that wanted a database that followed the correct steps, they would just go to a form, fill out the form, and it would automatically create generate a database, or at least take a database that had already been created, configure it automatically, and set it up. I worked on that project. I worked on a lot of the scripting and also built all the forms that they originally used to start pulling all that data so that they could populate the data with the correct configuration, or the database with the correct configuration that they wanted. So those are the projects that I worked on. My advice for an internship is try to learn as much as you can, and don't be afraid of volunteering for something you don't know how to do. They know you don't know anything. Certifications, yeah, talk about this. So with Oracle, like most big software packages, like anything from Microsoft, there are certifications in it. The first stage certification for an Oracle database management is your OCA. I'm actually still studying for my OCA, but I wasn't able to get it all finished because it is a pretty big test, and I hadn't decided to do it until about a third. I only have a third left of the summer. But basically it's a test. If any of you are familiar with the CCNA or any other certifications, you basically study your brains out for a good 4 months, and then you take a test and you become certified. If you have your OCA or your OCP, which is the next level up, you will get a job very, very easily. If they see that you have Oracle experience at all, that's a huge, huge additive to your resume. I get requests all the time on LinkedIn, and then also just through my interviews where I say I have specific configuration experience with Oracle versions, and they think that's the coolest thing. So if you're interested in database and you like the configuration stuff, I would consider looking into a DBA internship. Does anybody have any questions?
No.